The engineering behind the SUPERTOURER range, and specifically the new ST7, offers so much new innovation, and this is exactly what Australian made represents. Engineering and technology has always been the foundation of all of our design principles here at Patriot Campers. The new ST7 takes Australian innovation to the next level. Stay tuned in this video because we're going to show you a lot of Australian first innovation. So coming down the side of the ST7, I did say that I was going to make this video not go too in depth when it comes to the technical stuff. So I'm trying to avoid talking about the construction. I'll save that for another video. But the one thing that I do want to show everyone through is what I consider is, it's a first, it's a world first for towable item. And again, it comes from all of the real world experience that we go through. When we push to the boundaries, to the limits of where we push to when it comes to testing, and not even just testing, what we enjoy doing as a family, there comes a level of mechanical knowledge and mechanical sympathy that you kind of need to have to be able to get yourself out of certain situations. Even what we were finding with the original design, and this is before the days of Starlink, where now things have changed, it's a little bit easier. You can make a phone call, you can jump onto Google, you can access something. If you're trying to repair something, you're trying to find a fuse in a product or something along those lines, it is easier these days than it has been in the past. But it's come from all of those frustrations of, you know, we might have something particularly go wrong that I couldn't figure out on my own, that I'd have to get hold of one of the engineers at Patriot Campers or do a little bit of research on how to fix it, or I'd get a fault code, say for example, on a hot water system or something like that, and I didn't have access to it. What we've tried to do is engineer out any probability of anything that's going to stop someone from A, enjoying their time away, but B, having the ability to make repairs on the fly. And whether that's in a remote location or the ability of going anywhere in the world to a mechanic somewhere around the world to repair an issue, where it was, once again, it comes back to that intuitive side of the design. We wanted this to be as intuitive as possible when it comes to repairs as well as usability. And that's where this service modules came from. So one of the stipulations from the start of the design from the SUPERTOURERs with the engineering team was everything that's serviceable and all of the technology and the hardware had to be accessible. So we came up with this concept for a service module. Compared to ST5, we have a lot more real estate in the ST7. And so there is a lot more room to fit all the hardware. But the other big part of this is having all of the schematics and all the diagrams when it comes to water systems, air systems, electrical systems, and even suspension components and settings, that it's all laid out here that if you're trying to trace a fault, I should say, that you've got the ability to do that, or you do, your mechanic has the ability to do that. The biggest change with the ST7 over the ST5 is the introduction of Victron and Garmin components. We've been with RedArc for forever and a day, from day one, the very first Patriot camper ever built, and we still use RedArc products right throughout the rest of the model range. What we're trying to achieve for the future, and even for the current product standings, we needed a system that could offer us a little bit more, offer us the ability to add to it, and really offer the ability of logic. The logic control of us being able to program the system to what we desire with things like airbag level sensors, GPS units, all of those, and the list goes on and on and on without going into a whole nother video. This was just the next choice for us. And ironically, we've been talking to Garmin for 5 odd years. We've kind of been working with these guys about what the desires wanted to be. And the integration with the Garmin system, which is the brains, is they're very, very heavily connected with Victron Energy. So Victron was the natural choice for us. We do have some other redundancies built in. So we do have another standalone Victron screen, and we do have a standalone trimmer screen here for your air conditioning and for your heating system. So once again, building into all of these redundancies into the trailer. Let's say something happened, you lost your screen, and then you cracked your back screen, or something faulted out. You connect it on this side directly to the inputs of that hardware that's doing all the functionality. So you do have redundancy here. You can see here, this will control all of your battery, all your inputs and your outputs, and this will control all your hot water system. We've taken solid state switching to the next level. The whole trailer runs on Garmin Empire Bus. So what that means with Empire Bus, you can see there's these DCM modules that are strategically placed around the trailer, and we've minimized the wiring that's running throughout the trailer. When it comes to electrical systems and switching and all the rest of it, the harnesses are becoming very, very complicated. And as they become more complicated, it adds more of a possibility for failure points. So what these things allow us to do is run mains power into a location, into the trailer, where we can branch out, where we can tee out directly from these modules. Again, adding to the redundancy, every one of these modules has a switch on them. And if you refer back to the switching chart, the pinout chart, if you were to lose your whole system, if that was to happen, you can control everything manually from here. You can inflate and deflate airbags, you can turn lights on and off, you can open and close the lid. So we want our customers to have the confidence to be able to go as far as they want to go, as far as their vehicle will take them, that we want the SUPERTOURER to follow. And that's been a big mantra of Patriot Campers and keeping them out there for a very long period of time. With the labelling of all of those systems, we've introduced things like isolators, all of your switchings here, all of your 240 volt power or 110 volt power. Even your main fuses are now in a place where they're really accessible. Typically, if you own another brand of trailer or caravan, I could guarantee you won't know where your main fuses are for your battery. And then to try and find them, it's probably going to be an hour exercise or a couple of hour exercise, and you're going to be removing 15 panels to find it somewhere. We've gone as far as the fuse from the awning that's delivered from the supplier. We remove the fuse out of the awning and we put the fuse in on this side. So there's all of those details that are really quite clever. You've got a really good tool storage area in here. So this kind of becomes the garage, a second man cave, I suppose. For me, I'll hang tool rolls, test lights, all of that sort of stuff I'll keep in here. We've built in additional redundancy with the air compressor now. You have the ability to manually inflate and deflate your airbags if you were to have something go wrong with the compressor, but you also have a backup air compressor now. Big advantage of that is the ability to inflate tyres a little bit quicker. So you have an air chuck down on that side, and we supply an air lead and a tyre pressure gauge, so you can inflate and deflate the tyres of the trailer or your tow vehicle really quickly when it comes to the twin compressors. But if one fails, you've always got a backup. And then your water system is very, very simple as well. Your water filters, your water pump, all of these things do have a lifespan over a period of time. So the ability to replace them, call the customer care team, we can ship you out whatever parts you need anywhere in the world, and the likelihood that you're going to be able to repair it and keep yourself moving. Another big one for us is all of the water connections. Everything that you see here that's flowing out of the pump is plumbed directly to the source. What that means is there's no connections inside of the trailer. There's no opportunity for over a period of time for anything to let go and cause a water leak inside the trailer. Once again, the SUPERTOURER range is not designed to sit in a caravan park. That's not what we're about, and that's definitely not what this product is about. And I think you can see the introduction of the innovation and the technology, and for lack of a better word, the cost that goes into producing these things. They are next level. And this technology, whether it's you're there now or you're not into that sort of remote traveling and you don't need to go as far as we've taken this design, all of this will start filtering down into other products that Patriot produces and the rest of the industry. And for that there, I think we're really proud of everything that we've achieved. Moving up the side a little bit more, you have 1,080 watts of solar sitting on the roof of this thing, which is insane, and that's as standard. And when you start considering all the standard options that you get in this thing, the price as far as options go, it all starts adding up pretty quickly with the standard inclusions. But you do have the option of an additional solar blanket. We do understand that when you go camping, and I still do it, the first thing I'll do is I'll look for a shaded spot. That's what I do, and especially living here in Australia and predominantly living in Queensland. So when you go and park underneath a tree, well, obviously your solar stops working. If you carry another solar blanket, you can still plug in to here. You've got your 240 in, and this is your exhaust for your hot water system. For me, Generators, you'd hear me say it, generators are definitely not obsolete. They're definitely not redundant. They're something that I carry with me absolutely everywhere. And my little Honda 1 kVA generator has got me out of so much trouble throughout the years, from whether it's trouble with the trailer or it's trouble with the car or anything else. You know, you lose your power system, having the ability to plug your Starlink in and get yourself out of trouble. I think that, I don't think solar's as reliable as I think everybody thinks it is, but it's definitely come a long way. When you go and pair the solar to lithium, that's when you start getting the big advantage. So in behind here, you've got two 230 amp hour lithium batteries, and then on this side, you've got another two 230 amp hour lithium batteries. So 920 amp hours as standard, which for us is ample. When it comes to water, 300 litres of fresh water. You've got 40 odd litres of grey water, which again is ample. There's a lot of national parks now that you do need to carry, that you do need to be able to contain grey water. So having 300 litres of water. We actually don't have a method built into the trailer to draw water from a water source. That technology changes every time we get close to installing something into the trailer. It's like stereo systems, right? There was a time when we installed stereos into the trailer and then Bluetooth speakers happened. And every 12 months, a new brand, new generation, new technology comes out, and exactly the same thing is happening with water filtration sources. There are multiple companies that, you know, from briefcases this big to desalination plants that are mobile now that you can buy. So I don't really want to pigeonhole a customer into the corner when that technology is changing that quickly. So that's something that you want to consider. Do your research, because it is moving that fast on how much water that you can purify and the level that you can purify it to. It changes every 6 months every time that we do the research. So that's the reason that we don't have one of those systems built in. When it comes to your slide out on the side, this is actually an option. It's not for all customers. For me, I think it's a great option. You got 200 kilos of load here. If you've watched the ST5 videos and it just happened by absolute pure fluke, the tread storage boxes just fit, you can see how they fit in here. They are just perfect. I'd have 2 or 3 chairs stacked up at the back, and I'll normally have my Honda generator, and I'll have my chainsaw in that side. So that about rounds out the right-hand side of the trailer. I think probably the last thing that we need to talk about is the chassis and the suspension. I'll run you through why tandem and why trinamic. We'll probably move down to the back so we can get a bit of a view of that. And I'll give you a bit of an insight into where this chassis and where the suspension system comes from. All right, so now we're going to talk about suspension, and you guys are going to see a little bit about it. I could easily get caught up in talking about this stuff for an hour, so I'm just going to try and hit the high points. You can see I've got the Garmin tablet in. Now, what we've built in to the trailer is automatic leveling and horizon leveling, and anybody who's towing anything knows just how important that is to get that right and how finicky it can be. Now, with this system here, what I'll do is I'll just drop one side of the trailer down. So we're sitting at kind of normal ride height at the moment, which would be your normal kind of travel height. Let's say we pull up to camp and the trailer's sitting on an angle like this. You can see that it's out of level. I'll just hit this one button here, which is auto level. And what it'll do, it'll look at the pitch of the trailer first, and then it'll look at the roll side to side. Now, pitch, you're constrained by wherever your jockey wheel is setting. Now, with your roll side to side, it'll level directly to the horizon. So you can see there at the touch of a button, before you even get out of the vehicle, the trailer's leveled, and then you could open the roof actuators and really come and open the back door and jump straight into it and go to bed if you're traveling at night. For the purpose of what I'm going to explain here when it comes to suspension, I'll go into its full height mode. So we've got 3 pre-programmed modes. You can adjust the trailer to really whatever you like, but we have 3 modes that are pre-programmed. We have your normal driving height, which would be your normal round town driving. We have a low ride height, which is specifically for the highway. Get the trailer nice and low and take a lot of drag off the car and save a little bit of fuel. And then we have your high, your off-road mode. The other thing to note here is, well, we've built in tyre pressure monitoring system into the Garmin. We supply the ST7 with an additional 4 sensors. So we can fully monitor off that Garmin screen on your dash. You can monitor the tyre pressures of your vehicle, and you can monitor the tyre pressures of the trailer behind it. Really important when it comes to safety, especially while towing. Now in America, it's a requirement. Automotive manufacturers cannot sell a car in the United States without tyre pressure monitoring on the dash, and that's obviously for safety reasons. Being able to know what your tyres are doing, know before you're about to get a problem. If you've got a slow leak, a puncture that's slowly leaking away on a trailer, you can see that can turn into a problem really quickly. So once you contact the sales team at that time, we'll start talking about the actual tear weights. But the tear weight of this thing, for the size that it is and what it is, 3.5 tonne rated. So you're going to have a full tonne of payload without considering any options, but the trailer does come extremely well optioned. So there's not a lot of options on the options list that actually do add weight to the trailer. So we really wanted to keep it, you know, a lot of American trucks are big now, but this, you know, I see this thing behind, you know, Land Cruisers and Land Rovers, and we don't want to go into that realm, because the weight is what kills you. As I've said for 10 or 11 or 12 years, the weight's what kills you when it comes to off-road ability. So we start with a hot dip galvanised chassis the same way that we always have. Galvanising is a far superior coating to absolutely anything that you can put on to a chassis, and there is just no debate about that. Raptor coating or rhino lining chassis is becoming a bit of a thing now, you know, to avoid stone chips. Galvanising is far superior to avoiding stone chips, and it's actually a corrosion resistant coating, whereas you go and put those polyurethanes over the top, you're going to have a lifespan on them. And you've heard me in many videos talk about Duragal chassis. Duragal is a word that's thrown around like it's a good thing, but you know, it's a paint that gets sprayed over the top of the materials. There isn't another product that's more superior than hot dip galvanising when it comes to longevity and impact resistance when it comes to the chassis. You can see the aluminium skid plates that are sitting underneath. As we developed in the ST5, we've now integrated as a standard feature a full underbody heating system for the entire trailer. Water pumps are up protected, as you've seen in the service module, but water lines and water tanks freeze in overseas climate. So this is a four seasons, a true four seasons trailer, that when you're camping out in those sub-zero temperatures, you leave the heater running. We've been to Mongolia, we've traveled in Mongolia. You know, they all fit diesel heaters into the vehicles and they never turn off. They run 24 hours a day and they stop everything from freezing up. Sitting underneath is obviously the Trinamic suspension. The Trinamic suspension is developed around a bulkhead that was very heavily inspired from all the exposure that we've had to off-road racing and motorsports. It's really the central datum point for everything that adapts off the chassis, and the way that we lay the geometry of the chassis. The weight and balance of the entire chassis, like I've spoken about, strategically placing all the heavier components, batteries, kitchen, fridges, air conditioners. Being able to offset the weight and the balance right around the trailer is something that we put a lot of focus into because of the development of Trinamic. I got asked the question, and I do get it asked a lot, because people are now hearing me talk about unsprung weight and talking about shocks when it comes to Trinamic. And I suppose a very simple analogy when it comes to Trinamic is this. If you go to the gym and you do, say, a bicep curl, you pick up a 1 kilo dumbbell, you could probably, I don't know, a normal person could probably bang out 30, 40, 50 reps with a 1 kilo dumbbell. Now go and pick up a 20 kilo dumbbell and see what happens. You might get 1, you might get 2 or 3, but eventually you're gonna fatigue much, much quicker and you're gonna fail. It's no different with a shock absorber. So what we're trying to do is really lower the unsprung weight that I keep talking about, so it relieves the shock absorber to allow it to do its job. Twin shocks, big bore shocks, that are supporting an unsprung weight of 60 or 70 kilos on a trailing arm. Eventually, the oil will start cavitating, it'll get hot, that shock will fade, and it'll eventually fail. And you see that all over the corrugations right around Australia. When we lower that unsprung weight, the shock absorber doesn't have to work as hard, like the analogy that I just told you. And I think that's the most simplest way to put it. That's what's been the drive for developing Trinamic. Now, with the extended travel, the 250 mil of travel, what that 250 mil of travel does is give the suspension system the ability to absorb impact, big hits. If you get a balloon and you try and you got a balloon that's 70 millimeters high and apply some pressure to that balloon, you can probably squash it and hit the ground. Get a balloon that's 250 millimeters high and hit it with the same amount of pressure, what's gonna happen? You're gonna spring off it. It's gonna be a soft impact. You're not gonna get that big hit when you get to the bottom. That's what sends the shock through the entire, that resonates right through the chassis and right into the trailer. So if you've ever been touring with a friend of yours that has a product that I'm going to say probably that's imported, that they get to their campsite and they open the door and the thing's rattled itself to pieces. That's generally what's going on. The suspension is not working. So the trinamic ability to move faster, move quicker, but more importantly, keep up with modern day vehicles. So it's not about, you know, going and racing around the country like we're racing Fink or we're racing the Baja 1000. It's now that vehicles are moving quicker. Suspension has advanced so much more. 35 and 37-inch tyres on American vehicles are standard now, but the suspension and all the towables, they haven't caught up with it. Now the cars are outdoing the trailers. The trailing arm suspension we still use in the X range, and it still works. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it, but I think we're chasing the technology and we want to be at the forefront of the ability of getting these things to move how they should be moving, how a customer should be expecting when they're buying something that's innovative and something that's Australian made. A couple of other real high level things that we've introduced into the suspension system. Disc brakes is standard. Everybody, I think, is aware, much more inferior, more stopping power. They last a lot longer. And the biggest one for us was weight. But the big one for us is engineering out the Achilles heel of all suspension systems when it comes to trailers. And that's the wheel bearings and the stub axles. Wheel bearings have a lifespan. If you don't maintain them, you probably, if you've owned a caravan in the past, you would have been caught out at some stage. And stub axles on big impacts, they fail. That's what happens. They get a big shock through them, they get a bit of brittle fracture in them, and over time, they'll end up snapping like what happened to us in Mongolia. So all of our experiences from racing trophy trucks in Mexico to snapping stub axles in Mongolia have all led to this innovation that Patriot Campers is bringing into the industry. And I think this is going to be the start of a whole new era when it comes to suspension, and hopefully we force that drive in the competition that I spoke about in the last video, that the other manufacturers start coming up to where the suspension systems need to be. So that's the fundamental part of the SUPERTOURER range. That's where majority of our work and our testing has gone. And we're not done yet. We're still consistently improving it. We ended up 30-something combinations of sway bar and shock valving and piston tuning on the airbag suspension on ST5 before we landed where it was. The big advantage is everything that we put into ST5, we were always capturing all the data for the tandem axle. So we've only done 2 different changes in this suspension system, and it's perfect. It's exactly where it needs to be. So something we're really proud of, something that's new for the industry, and I think it's another one that shows where the investment goes into when a customer invests into a Patriot SUPERTOURER.
Thanks everyone for tuning in and watching our walkthrough of the ST7. Going through all of the features, we wanted to get down and show you this, and we're glad that it's out there and you can see it.
It's a little bit surreal for me before we actually go out on our first big adventure.
Big adventure.
With the ST7, actually walking around with me and Sarah, and all of the memories come back of the reasons why.
Yep.
Why we've designed this like that, why we focus on trinamic, why we've developed the service module, why it's a pop top, why it's the length, why it's the weight. There's so many whys that there's like 12 years of all of the successes and failures that we've had through every product we've developed at Patriot Campers in a different stage in our life. It's been amazing, hasn't it?
This is so exciting.
It's been amazing to have the opportunity to work with the people that we've worked with and continue driving Australian manufacturing forward, continue the innovation, and always looking from a little bit left field and always looking at what's next. And you know, I think we're going to continue to do that, and as our desires change for what we want out of a product, that's when the innovation and creation keeps happening. So if you want to see an ST7, we'll have one on display here on the Gold Coast. Might be ours. You might see it in its full kind of beaten up form like we did with the ST5. We'll have one in Las Vegas in about 12 weeks. So if we safely said by the end of March, early April.
Yep, and we'll keep you all posted on that as well.
So you can get into the Las Vegas showroom over there. Contact the sales team if you want a little bit more information. If it's not the product for you, that I hope that you've just enjoyed the series and watching the company continue to move forward. Keep an eye out on Patriot Games as well, because you're going to see throughout the next season of Patriot Games the ST7 really getting its ass kicked by me, which I do with every product, because I want to deliver to every single customer a product that they know is always going to make it back home. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.